Hey guys, welcome back to another movie review. I'm Hayley, and today we're going to be talking about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently today. So the first half of my review is going to be spoiler-free, as per usual, but the second half is going to have some pretty significant spoilers. But don't worry, I'm definitely going to give a warning before we get to that. And yeah, let's just get into it. Wakanda Forever. Shuri is the focus of this movie after the loss of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, and Wakanda and T'Challa's family are kind of left to navigate the aftermath of that. This movie also marks the introduction of Namor, or Namor. They do pronounce it both ways in the movie. I know that his backstory is very different in the comics, but I'm just doing this review based on what I saw in the movie and not necessarily how comic accurate it is. Namor is the leader of an Atlantean-esque underwater nation called Talokan, and he serves as our main antagonist. I think introducing an entirely new civilization in one movie is a lot to undertake, especially when you have to share the spotlight with something as significant as T'Challa's death. The movie is quite long, at 2 hours and 41 minutes, and I just feel like a lot of it is exposition. There's backstories and introductions and logistics and just things that, the audience needs to understand in order for the story to make sense, but it just takes up a lot of time. I think it would have been better if Talokan had been introduced, or at least significantly hinted at in other movies, just so we don't have to learn everything all at once. That said, I do feel like the emotional core of the movie does get a little lost with everything going on. It is a superhero movie. There's gonna be action sequences, and there are a lot of them, but they kind of take over and change the movie's tone a bit. We get far away from the raw emotion and grief that you would think is supposed to be the heart of the movie. Wakanda Forever is definitely at its strongest when it lets its characters grieve and grow as people. But overall, I would still say it was pretty good. All the acting was solid, and it did intrigue me as to what is next for the MCU, but more on that later. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. All right, that is the end of my spoiler-free review, guys. With that, we're just gonna kind of jump straight into it. I think that the decision to start off the movie with T'Challa still alive was absolutely brutal. I mean, the first 5 minutes are kind of a sucker punch. And if you tell me you didn't get emotional, I'm sorry. You're lying. I was crying in the club for sure. The whole theater was crying. And I think because we got such a powerful and emotionally raw start to the movie, it kind of made it that much more disappointing when the movie kind of stumbled and got lost a little bit in the middle. I feel like Shuri's journey with her grief of, losing her brother and then later her mother kind of gets glossed over a little bit. And speaking of Queen Ramonda's death, I think that the truth between Namor and Shuri at the end of the movie is a lot less believable because they had him be the one who killed her mother. I understand the hero's journey of learning to forgive, learning to show mercy, but Shuri has to actively help Namor, actively hide his secret from the world and their allies. I just don't think it's super realistic to be so chill with the guy who literally killed your mother right in front of you. Something that I have to at least mention is that Michael B. Jordan cameo. Oh my goodness, that was wild. My whole theater was shook. I think it was a super interesting choice to have him be the one who showed up in the ancestral plane when Shuri was becoming the new Black Panther. The dynamic was super interesting because, obviously his character was really focused on vengeance in the original Black Panther, and Shuri is having her moment where she absolutely is as well. So I wasn't expecting that parallel at all, but it was really, really cool to see. The last thing I'm going to talk about was that end credit scene. It has a lot of interesting implications now that we know, T'Challa and Nakia, they had a son that nobody really knows about. All the people besides Shuri who knew about him have died. So it's a pretty huge secret that could have some big ramifications if word got out. I do kind of wish that Marvel would stop putting such crucial scenes in the after credits. People in my theater were like walking out before this scene happened. I just feel like it could have pretty easily just been fit into the end of the movie, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. So yeah, Wakanda Forever has some pretty interesting twists and turns that, you know, kept me surprised for sure. I think it set up some really cool things for the future, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Like I said, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.